Hey guys, in this little video, I'm going to explain you very simply how does receivables factoring work. So let's suppose there's a supplier of goods and there is a buyer of goods. And the supplier sells around $10 million worth of goods to the buyer. And the credit terms are for 90 days. What that means is that the supplier would have to wait for around 90 days to collect the money against those invoices, right? That's a long period of time. And let's suppose they need the money early, right? Let's see what option is available to them then. So what supplier can do is it can approach its bank and say, bank, I am going to sell you these invoices, which are worth 10 million. Bank will say, okay, but I can only give you 9.8 million against those invoices if you need the money today. So the bank will basically transfer today 9.8 million to the supplier. The remaining 200,000 is basically the cost of factoring the receivables, or the interest cost, in other words. What happens at the end of the 90 days is that the buyer of goods who were supposed to initially pay supplier will actually pay the bank the 10 million against those invoices in 90 days. In this way, what the bank is doing, it's basically assuming or taking credit risk on the buyer's receivable invoices. A key point to note over here is that in this negotiation, buyer is not involved directly. It was the supplier and the bank. Naturally, the next question is that what if the buyer fails to pay the bank on the due date? What options are available to the bank? It depends on the type of factoring. If it's with recourse factoring or without recourse factoring. If it's with recourse, then the bank has a protection because it can always knock on the supplier's door in case the buyer fails to pay. So it can demand payment from the supplier. Without recourse is opposite, that the bank cannot demand payment from the supplier. Their only option is to make sure that the buyer makes the payment on time. Naturally, what that means is that with recourse, factoring is less risky for the bank, right? Because they have a second option to go to the supplier. And opposite, without recourse, is more risky for the bank. What that means is that with recourse, naturally is less costly in terms of a lower interest percentage, lower cost. And opposite, of course, is for without recourse. Thanks for watching, guys.